All right, tonight we are following the fallout from Donald Trump's dinner with a man that the Justice Department has labeled a white supremacist. Last week, the ex-president hosted Nick Fuentes and Kanye West at his Florida home. Source told Axios that Trump, quote, seemed very taken with Fuentes and was impressed with his ability to rattle off statistics and recall speeches from Trump's 2016 campaign. But once word got out of the dinner, the backlash sent Trump world reeling. One longtime Trump advisor called the situation a, quote, effing nightmare, and told NBC News, quote, if people are looking at Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to run against Trump, here's another reason why. Now Trump's trying to distance himself from Fuentes, saying he didn't know the 24-year-old was going to be at the dinner and had no idea who he was. This despite the fact that Fuentes has been a featured player in right-wing circles for a while, palling around with MAGA Republicans like Arizona's Paul Gosar and Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Last year, both members of Congress attended the American First Political Action Conference. It's an event organized by Fuentes himself, where he took the stage to spout ideas like this.
Our secret sauce here, it's these young white men. That's what we call the secret ingredient. America and the world has forgotten about them, but not us. We've got the white Christian men that built this country the first time, and we'll do it again.
Look, it doesn't matter what Trump claims he did or didn't know at the time. What matters also is what he knows now. Trump undeniably knows now that Nick Fuentes is an outspoken racist, that he's an anti-Semite, that he's a Holocaust denier. But in the statements he has put out after that dinner, Trump has declined to condemn him or even denounce those views. And will that change? Well, for those who know the ex-president's long history of refusing to criticize anyone who's complimented him, that seems, to put it generously, unlikely. Let's discuss this more with the just videoed and now re-videoed Democratic Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I want to get your reaction to the dinner. Obviously, an explosive decision to have a dinner with Nick Fuentes. Does Trump's failure to denounce Fuentes surprise you at all? And I guess what do you imagine are sort of the downstream impacts of a failure to denounce those types of viewpoints?
Thank you, Sam, for having me. Let me just say, first of all, while it is shameful, I'm really not surprised. Secondly, it's no excuse to say that I did not know. I mean, he knows what Kanye's views are in terms of his comments as it relates to anti-Semitism and hate. And so, I think it's once again he's showing us who he is. And he needs to apologize. I mean, if he were for real, then he would say, I'm sorry, I apologize. He didn't do that, and he won't do that because, once again, that is who he is. He associates with these people, and he's constantly behaving and saying hate, promoting hate language, anti-Semitism, white supremacy, and really it's very dangerous because a lot of what he has done leads to violence. Hate speech leads to hate violence. And so he knew, but he said he didn't. So if he didn't, why doesn't he apologize? And why doesn't he disassociate himself for those who he knows are anti-Semitic and saying anti-Semitic things such as Kanye?
Well, why do you think he doesn't apologize?
That's who he is. And, for some reason, he's going to continue. Hopefully, the public now understands who he is. Remember the campaign of 2016 and the horrible, horrific kind of language he used toward Mexican Americans, towards Muslims, towards women, towards African Americans, towards people who were different than him, who were not white males. And when we look at the policies that he put forth, when you look at the bans that he put in place, this man's policies reflect who he is. And so this is something that I think the Republicans also need right now to disassociate themselves from him, what he says, and move on. And I haven't heard many Republicans say anything about what took place at this dinner. And so we have to move forward as Democrats, though, and we're going to continue to work for the people.
So you mentioned Republicans. Republican Congressman James Comer of Kentucky, he was actually asked about this meeting on Meet the Press this morning. Let's take a listen to what Comer had to say about this.
Well, he certainly needs better judgment in who he dines with. I know that he's issued a statement and said he didn't know who those people were. I would not take a meeting with that person, no. I wouldn't take a meeting with Kanye West either, but that's my opinion.
Now, I mentioned this a moment ago. Trump's not the only GOP lawmaker Fuentes has met with. Is this just an issue of bad judgment? Do comments like Comer's suffice for you?
No, this is deeper than bad judgment. He should say he condemns it, and he needs to make sure that he says that very clearly, and that that's wrong, and that it's more than bad judgment. This is who Donald Trump is, and he was president. We saw his policies. We know what he said during his campaign, and the country, I think, is beginning to really understand this at a deeper level. But again, Democrats have to move on, and I think what's going to happen is more people are going to disassociate themselves from Donald Trump in terms of supporting him for president. And I think that the country is coming to really understand, even those who supported him the first time around are beginning to understand that this is a dangerous man and he's filled with hate.
We'll see about that. The Republican drama doesn't stop at Trump. In your chamber, GOP leader Kevin McCarthy, he's currently fighting for his political life, or the speakership, I should say, in the House. He's trying to secure enough votes to become speaker. One, do you think he'll ultimately get those votes? And two, will the concessions that he has to make to the Freedom Caucus in exchange for those votes, how do you expect that to impact the next 2 years in terms of what the House will look like?
Well, I can tell you one thing. The concessions that he gives to the Freedom Caucus won't be concessions that are going to address the climate crisis, child care, the cost of living, the quality of life, housing, health care. They won't be concessions that speak to the needs and the aspirations of the American people. And so whatever concessions he's negotiating, I can tell you one thing, they will be concessions that we're going to have to fight against, and they will be concessions that the public will understand who's on their side. And so we're ready, whatever their agenda is, and we're going to continue to make sure that we put forth policies that are going to make life better for everyone.
Do you think he ultimately gets the votes to become speaker?
Well, I don't know. That depends on the concessions he makes. I mean, he's got such a slim margin. I shudder to think what those concessions may be. But if he does, look out. That's all I can say. I know they won't be concessions about how we move forward to ensure that everyone has a $35 ceiling on their insulin, right, in addition to our Medicare recipients. So I know that they won't be concessions on behalf of the public.
Well, switching to, you talked about the agenda. The Democrats do have control for another 5 weeks or so of both chambers of Congress. What do you expect to get done legislatively between now and January 3rd? Is it just going to be about the debt ceiling and gay marriage, or is there something else that you think the party will push through with its remaining majority?
Well, we're pushing through many efforts. Congresswoman Karen Bass, soon to be Mayor Karen Bass, has several criminal justice reform measures that would provide for a second chance. We have the debt ceiling to discuss and debate. I'm not sure where we'll go with that, but we have the budget, the omnibus bill. Remember, we are negotiating the funding for the federal government. And so we're in the process now of making decisions and trying to get the Republicans to negotiate with us on issues around the climate crisis, housing, health care, the entire federal budget. I serve on the Appropriations Committee, chair of the subcommittee on state and foreign operations, and we have a heck of a lot of work to do as it relates to our international diplomacy and development. We have issues around COVID. So we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to complete it. And so that's it's going to be a very busy December, but we're going to stay there until we get the job done for the American people.
So you're going to say you got COVID aid, you got aid to Ukraine, you got the debt ceiling, you got gay marriage, got a lot of stuff you got to deal with. Do you think you're going to get all that done?
Democrats work hard. If you've seen what we've done in the last few years, I mean to tell you, along with the Biden administration, Speaker Pelosi, and Senator Schumer, we have worked day and night, day and night. We passed the Inflation Reduction Act. We passed the American Rescue Plan. We passed the CHIPS plan. We passed all of these policies that the president signed that are leading to good-paying jobs, that are leading to policies that are going to make the world a better place and ensure that our country continues to move forward on the issues of justice and freedom for everyone.
All right. Congresswoman Barbara Lee, pleasure to talk with you on a late Sunday night. Really appreciate you coming on, and take care.